The only known surviving dicephalous conjoined twins, they've spent their lives in a small, close-knit community, completely protected from prying eyes.
Have you heard what happened to the conjoined twins? It's a question that pops up every few years, a whisper of curiosity about the two sisters from Minnesota who the world came to know, love, and marvel at. For over a decade, Abby and Brittany Hensel, probably the most famous conjoined twins in modern history, had basically vanished from the public eye. They traded television cameras for the quiet focus of a fifth-grade classroom, choosing a normal life over the celebrity one that was offered to them. The world respected their choice, and the chatter faded, leaving just a quiet hum of occasional wonder. But then, everything changed. Suddenly, in early 2024, that silence was shattered. Secret wedding photos started making the rounds, a mysterious TikTok account began posting cryptic messages, and the internet just exploded with questions. Journalists dug up a marriage certificate that had been quietly filed back in 2021, and suddenly, everyone was asking the same thing, but this time with a new urgency: what really happened to the twins? The truth, as it so often is with their incredible story, is more surprising, more complex, and more profoundly human than any of us could have imagined. It's a story about love, resilience, and completely redefining what it means to live a full and happy life. To really get why this news was such a bombshell, we have to go back to the very beginning, March 7, 1990, in a small Minnesota town. On that day, Patty and Mike Hensel welcomed their twin daughters, Abigail and Brittany, into the world. But this wasn't any ordinary birth. The delivery room was filled with a mix of awe and fear. Abby and Brittany were conjoined, an incredibly rare event that happens in only about 1 out of every 200,000 live births. The technical term is dicephalic parapagous twins, which sounds like something from a sci-fi novel but just means they have two heads on a single torso. This condition is so rare that the outlook is often grim. Most twins like them are stillborn or die shortly after birth. The Hensels' parents were immediately faced with an impossible choice, one no parent should ever have to make. Doctors gave them the option of surgical separation. It was a high-risk, experimental procedure with a terrifyingly low chance that both girls would survive. Looking at their two vibrant, beautiful babies, Patty and Mike made the decision that would define their daughters' lives. They chose life, together. As their father, Mike, later said in an interview, "How could you pick between the two?" They decided against the surgery, believing that the life their daughters could have together would be better than any life they might have apart, if they survived at all. That decision paved the way for an extraordinary upbringing. From the start, Patty and Mike were determined to treat Abby and Brittany as two separate individuals who just happened to share a body. They nurtured their unique personalities, encouraged their different interests, and taught them to believe that they could do anything they set their minds to. This philosophy became the foundation of their entire world. The world first met Abby and Brittany in 1996, when they were 6 years old, on The Oprah Winfrey Show. A cover story in Life magazine followed. The public was instantly captivated. Here were these two bright, articulate little girls, navigating a world that wasn't built for them with a grace and coordination that seemed impossible. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving. Their story was so compelling it led to TV documentaries and, finally, their own reality show on TLC in 2012, Abby and Brittany. The show was a revelation. It wasn't about medical oddities or sensationalism. It was a deeply human look at two young women coming of age. The cameras followed them as they graduated from Bethel University, figured out how to get a driver's license, and went on a trip through Europe. Viewers watched them play the piano, with Abby taking the right-hand parts and Brittany the left. We saw them ride a bike, swim, and play volleyball, all things requiring a level of cooperation most of us can barely imagine. They showed how they could type on a computer, each controlling one hand, and even how they would each eat their own meal, with their own tastes and preferences. The show gave us a peek into the logistics and personal challenges of their lives, but more importantly, it showcased their very different personalities. There was Abby, the outspoken and assertive one who loved math and science. And then there was Brittany, the witty, more laid-back sister with a passion for reading and the arts. They were two different people, with different thoughts, different dreams, and a bond that was, by its very nature, unbreakable. The world fell in love with their spirit, their humor, and their absolute refusal to live a limited life. The show was a hit, but it was also the last time we'd get such an intimate look into their lives for a very long time. After the final episode of Abby and Brittany aired in 2012, the twins did something pretty amazing: they disappeared. At a time when everyone was starting to document their entire lives online, they chose to step back from the limelight. They had shared their story with the world on their terms, but now, as they were entering adulthood, they wanted something else, something much harder to find when you're famous: privacy. They hated being stared at or having their picture taken by strangers, which was a constant part of their public life. They understood the curiosity, but they just wanted to be seen as people, not a spectacle. In interviews they gave as teenagers, they said they hoped that by sharing their story, people would understand them enough to let them have a normal social life afterward. And that's exactly what they set out to do. They traded camera crews for a life of quiet purpose, after graduating from Bethel University in 2012 with degrees in education. They didn't chase more TV deals. Instead, they pursued their shared passion for teaching. In 2013, they were hired as fifth-grade teachers in New Brighton, Minnesota. They specialize in math, a subject Abby loves, while Brittany's strengths are more in things like reading and writing. Just think about the courage and dedication that takes. A classroom is a tough environment for any teacher, but for Abby and Brittany, it was a place where their unique teamwork could be a real advantage. They explained in an interview with the BBC that their setup could be a huge asset. One can be teaching and one can be monitoring and answering questions, Brittany noted. Abby added, so in that sense we can do more than one person. They could offer two different perspectives, two ways of explaining a tough problem, and a constant, living lesson in cooperation. Their job also brought up some interesting practical questions. Even though they have two separate degrees and two separate teaching licenses, they initially accepted a single salary. It was a realistic decision, they understood, since they were doing the work of one person in many ways. But they also said they hoped that with experience, they could negotiate for more, given their 2 degrees and unique teaching skills. This practical view of their careers showed how mature they were and how focused they were on building a sustainable life. For more than 10 years, this was their world. They lived quietly in their home state of Minnesota, teaching kids and living a life that was, by all accounts, intentionally normal. Locals would see them out and about, but they had successfully backed away from the global stage. People wondered from time to time what had happened to the famous twins, but mostly, Abby and Brittany were just living. They had found the normalcy they wanted so badly. This long silence, this carefully built privacy, is what made the sudden explosion of news in 2024 so completely shocking. After a decade of quiet, the dam of privacy finally broke in March 2024. It didn't start with a formal announcement. It started the way so much news breaks these days, with a storm of social media activity and journalists digging through public records. The news outlet Today was the first to confirm what had been a well-kept secret for almost 3 years. Abby Hensel was married. The news sent a shockwave across the internet. Public records showed that on November 13, 2021, Abigail Lorraine Hensel had married Josh Bowling, a 33-year-old nurse and a U.S. Army veteran. They had managed to keep their wedding private for years, building their life together far from the public eye. Once the news was out, photos and videos started to surface, showing a joyful, love-filled wedding day. A Facebook profile was updated to show the twins in a beautiful, custom-made wedding gown, holding hands with Josh, who was in a sharp gray suit. A video shared on their new TikTok account showed a sweet moment from the reception, Abby and Brittany, together in their wedding dress, sharing a dance with Josh. Another video montage showed more photos from the day, including a picture with Josh's young daughter, who was a flower girl. It turned out Abby had become not only a wife but a stepmom in a new, blended family. The public's reaction was immediate and intense. For millions, Abby and Brittany were still the teenage girls from that TLC show. The news of a marriage was a sudden update that brought a flood of questions, from the genuinely curious to the just plain invasive. Who was this man who had entered their extraordinary lives? According to reports, Josh Bowling had been married before and has a daughter, Isabella, from that relationship. He works as a hospice nurse, a job that, like teaching, requires a deep sense of compassion. His social media profiles paint a picture of a man dedicated to his family and faith, describing himself as a Christian, father, husband, veteran. Photos show him enjoying everyday life with Abby and Brittany, traveling, eating ice cream, and just hanging out at their home in Minnesota. It was clear this wasn't some whirlwind romance but a committed relationship that had been quietly growing for years. The news also came with an unexpected twist. Shortly after the marriage went public, reports surfaced about a paternity lawsuit filed in October 2023 by Josh's ex-wife. The suit, filed 2 years into Josh's marriage with Abby, was related to a child born after their divorce. This legal drama added a layer of tabloid messiness to what was otherwise a heartwarming story, and it just fueled the media frenzy. For Abby and Brittany, this sudden tidal wave of attention was a jarring return to public life. They had spent years building a private world, and now its most intimate details were being debated and dissected online. Their response, though, wasn't to hide. They turned to the very platform that was blowing up their story, TikTok, to speak for themselves. In one post, they shared images of historical conjoined twins with the caption, "The internet is extra loud today. We have always been around." It was a powerful reminder that their existence, while rare, wasn't without precedent. In another, more direct video, they posted a message over a photo of themselves with Josh. "This is a message to all the haters out there. If you don't like what I do, but you watch everything I'm doing, you're still a fan." It was a bold, defiant, and very modern way of taking back their own story. They weren't the young girls on a reality show anymore. They were adult women, in control of their lives and not afraid to clap back. This story is about so much more than a wedding. It's about anatomy, identity, love, and the incredible strength of the human spirit. To really wrap your head around how this marriage is possible and what it all means, we need their unique biology and the history of conjoined twins who came before them. If you're finding this story as fascinating as we are, and if you believe in celebrating incredible stories of human resilience, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss the details we're getting into next. The news of Abby's marriage led to a global chorus of the same question. But how does it work? The curiosity is understandable. To get the reality of their shared life and Abby's marriage, you first have to grasp the astonishing complexity of how they are physically joined. Their story is written in their biology, a 1 in millions marvel. Abby and Brittany are dicephalic parapagous twins. From the outside, you see 2 heads, 2 necks, and a torso that's wider than average. They have 2 arms and 2 legs. At birth, they had a third, small arm between their necks, but it was removed when they were infants. What's under the surface is an incredible mix of shared and separate systems. Each twin has her own head, brain, and spinal cord. These 2 spinal cords run down their back separately before merging at the pelvis. They each have their own heart, their own set of lungs, and their own stomach. This is huge. Having separate vital organs like hearts is a major reason they've lived so long and stayed so healthy, but from the navel down, their anatomy is almost completely shared. They share one large liver, a single bladder, one set of intestines, and one reproductive system. They also share a single bloodstream. This complex sharing of organs is the main reason separation was considered too dangerous when they were born. Trying to divide those shared lower body systems would have been a catastrophic puzzle with no clear way to create 2 living, independent people. The most fascinating part, and the key to how they do everything, is their nervous system. Each twin's brain and spinal cord controls one side of their shared body. Abby controls the right arm and the right leg. Brittany controls the left arm and the left leg. Every single coordinated thing we take for granted, walking, clapping, getting dressed, requires a level of communication between them that is practically instant and subconscious. It's like a perfectly synchronized dance, but the dancers share a single body. Think about driving a car, a milestone they proudly showed off on their TV show. To get their licenses, they had to take the written and driving tests twice, one for each of them, as required by Minnesota law. When they drive, Abby handles the gas and brake pedals, while Brittany manages the turn signals. They both have to turn the steering wheel together in perfect unison. It's an amazing act of cooperation, a result of a lifetime of practice and a connection that's hard to explain. This brain-body split also leads to some strange sensory things. Each twin can only feel touch on her half of the body. A pat on the right arm is felt by Abby, a pat on felt by Brittany. Yet, in a weird neurological quirk, they've said that a stomach ache is often felt by the twin on the opposite side. This unique anatomy is the backdrop for Abby's marriage. Legally and personally, Abby and Brittany are two different people. Abby entered into a legal marriage with Josh. Brittany, as her own person, did not. Yet, because they share a life and a body, any relationship one has is experienced by the other in a way that's totally unprecedented. For this to work, Brittany has to have a strong, supportive, and respectful relationship with Josh, since he's now a permanent part of their shared life. The success of this marriage depends not just on the love between Abby and Josh, but on a foundation of mutual respect and communication among all three of them, and the idea of conjoined twins marrying isn't entirely new. The most famous historical example is Chong and Ng, the 19th-century twins from Siam, now Thailand, who gave us the term Siamese twins. Joined at the chest by flesh and a fused liver, they lived into adulthood, became successful businessmen, and married two separate sisters. Between them, they fathered an incredible 21 children. They kept two separate households, and would alternate which home they lived in every few days. Their story, though from a different time, shows that sharing a body doesn't rule out finding love and building a family. Abby and Brittany have even talked about wanting children one day. In a 2006 documentary, when they were 16, Brittany said, "Yeah, we're going to be moms." Their mother, Patty, confirmed that their shared reproductive organs were functional and that motherhood was a real possibility. While they haven't spoken about it recently, Abby's marriage brings this possibility back into the conversation, adding another layer of wonder to their ongoing journey. Beyond the headlines, the medical facts, and all the logistical questions, lies the most important part of this story. The human side. The core truth of Abby and Brittany Hensel is that they are two different people on a single, extraordinary journey. Their life is a constant, real-world lesson in individuality, cooperation, and the art of being seen for who you are, not just what you are. Their entire lives have been about proving they are individuals. While they share a closet, they often have their clothes tailored with two different necklines, a small but meaningful way to express their separate styles. They have different tastes in food, different hobbies, and famously, different personalities. Friends and family have long known Abby as the more outgoing and direct one, while Brittany is often described as the more reserved and witty observer. This isn't an act, it's just the reality of two people coexisting in the most intimate way imaginable. Their career as teachers is maybe the best example of their individual strengths working together. In the classroom, they are a dynamic duo. One can lead a lesson at the board while the other walks around helping students one-on-one. They provide two sets of eyes, two teaching styles, and two sources of encouragement for their fifth graders. For the kids in their class, their condition quickly becomes normal. They are just Miss Abby and Miss Brittany, their teachers who work together perfectly. They aren't just teaching math, they are teaching empathy, acceptance, and teamwork every single day, just by being there. The recent explosion of attention around Abby's marriage has put their resilience to the test. The world's intense curiosity and, in some corners of the internet, its cruel judgment, could have been crushing. But their response was powerful. By taking to social media, they didn't just defend their choices, they demanded the right to live and love as they see fit. Their TikTok posts were a declaration of their independence. That message, "If you don't like what I do, but you watch everything I'm doing, you're still a fan," wasn't just a snappy comeback, it was a statement of empowerment. They refused to be passive characters in a media story. They became the authors, using modern tools to speak their truth directly to the world. This public strength reflects their private lives. The decision for Abby to marry Josh was no doubt a family one, requiring deep conversations and immense love and trust among all three of them. Brittany's support for her sister's marriage is a profound act of love. It shows she embraces this new family structure and this new chapter in their shared life. Josh's commitment, in turn, is not just to Abby, but to the unique family they now are. His public photos consistently show him smiling alongside both sisters, presenting a united and happy front. Their story challenges our most basic ideas of what it means to be an individual and what it means to be in a partnership. Abby and Brittany's lives suggest the answers are way more flexible than we think. They are two people who have learned to live as one, without ever losing sight of who they are individually. They are a living paradox, two wills, two minds, two hearts, working in one body with a single, shared goal, to live a full, happy, and meaningful life. Their journey is a powerful lesson that our humanity isn't defined by the body we live in, but by the love we share, the purpose we find, and the courage we show in a world that doesn't always get it. The story of Abby and Brittany Hensel has always been about defying expectations. From the moment they were born, when doctors gave them a slim chance of survival, to confidently navigating school, college, and their careers, they have constantly proven that the only limits that really matter are the ones we put on ourselves. The news of Abby's marriage isn't some shocking twist, but the next logical step in a life defined by courage and the search for happiness. For over a decade, they lived the quiet life they had so carefully built. The sudden return to the global spotlight wasn't their choice, but they met it with the same grace and strength that has defined their whole lives. They have taken control of their story, reminding everyone that they aren't a curiosity, but adult women building a family and living a life full of love and purpose. Their journey makes us question our own assumptions about identity, love, and what a normal family looks like. In a world that often struggles with difference, Abby and Brittany offer a profound lesson in acceptance and cooperation. They are two distinct personalities, two brilliant minds, and two resilient spirits who have shown the world that being together doesn't mean erasing the individual. The story of what happened to the conjoined twins isn't about tragedy or limits. It's a love story. It's the story of Abby's love for her husband, Josh. It's the story of the unshakable love between two sisters. And ultimately, it's the story of their shared love for the life they have built, a life that keeps unfolding in ways that surprise, inspire, and teach us all what it really means to be human. What do you find most inspiring about Abby and Brittany's story? Has their journey changed your perspective at all? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. We love digging into compelling human stories, and hearing from you helps us bring more of them to light. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that will make you see the world a little differently. Thanks for watching.